The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
If I don't say hi, are you going to threaten me more like you did right before we started the podcast?
Phil, let me ask you this question, and I ask it without any agenda or attitude.
Right.
Do you want to find out?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Second Breakfast Podcast. I'm Phil Duvall. I'm so glad, excited, and of my own free will, happy to be next to Andy Roth having this conversation about the film.
And by next to, he means 3,000 miles away from.
That's the only safety valve that I have.
Minimum safe distance. It's true.
It's true. It's true.
Hi, everybody. It's the start of another week.
I'm excited about this week
in Second Breakfast Nation. It's going to be a good week. It's going to be a good week. We've seen some movies.
It's true.
We've seen some movies. We got a couple of big things for you, and we're going to talk about a weighty movie in theaters now. See what I did there? Do you see what I did?
Wow. Wow. Andy, this is why you get the big bucks.
That's right. That's right. Not personally, but like I get them. Like I understand them.
This is why you comprehend the big bucks.
Indeed.
Oh, I like that. That's good. That's good. All right. Well, Andy, let's listen. Let's not waste the valuable public's. Nope.
Try again.
Let me try again.
It's good. It's good.
Let's not waste the public's valuable time.
That's right. Don't worry. I'll fix it in post.
I'll fix it in post.
I'm not gonna fix it in post.
I knew you weren't gonna fix it. Andy, how many movies did you see last week?
3. I saw 3.
Okay.
I saw 3.
Tell me about them. Tell me all about it.
I will. First, I saw, and this was not a good movie, but it was a better movie than you're about to think it was. Okay?
Okay.
So in the past few years, as comic book movies have come to the fore in terms of live action and all of that stuff, they have also, the DC Animation and Marvel Animation Studios, they've been putting out a lot of animated movies, and most of them are direct to DVD, but most of them are actually pretty good in quality. And there is one, and I watched one because it was streaming on Netflix. It's like, I want to watch something that's not super long and I don't have to think about it super hard. And there is this storyline from the Hulk comic book called Planet Hulk, and he basically
I've heard of this.
Exactly. It's one of the two, arguably one of the two most famous recent Hulk storylines, that and Planet Hulk and World War Hulk. And Planet Hulk...
First of all, regardless of what either of these are about,
yes,
the titles are genius.
They're great, right? They're great.
If I just feel like I could go into a pitch meeting and go, 3 words, World War Hulk, and the person would be like, $200 million are in your pocket now.
That's right.
Make me a movie.
So Planet Hulk. I watched the animated movie Planet Hulk, and it was enjoyable. I've told you, Phil, about this. I may have mentioned it on the podcast. I'm not sure. There is a half-hour cartoon called Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. The entire series is streaming on Netflix, and I think it is actually really well done. It's not as good as that show, but it was an enjoyable movie. So that was movie number 1. I then watched The Shining.
Nice.
Yes, it was, and I have to say this. It was actually my first time watching. When I buy a movie, I try and watch it presently, soon thereafter. Yeah. But I didn't with The Shining, and I'm not quite sure why. But it was my first time seeing it on Blu-ray, and it is a gorgeous freaking movie. Like, gorgeous. I could have watched the first chapter, which is functionally the credits, and him driving up through the mountains to his job interview. I could have watched that 5 times in a row. So beautiful.
Love it.
And the one movie I saw in the theaters this week, Ender's Game. Game. Adaptation of the famous and extraordinarily well written science fiction novel by the infamous and extraordinarily ill-spoken man Orson Scott Card.
I was just going to ask, so Andy, you saw this movie. Obviously, the question to be asked is, why do you hate gay people so much? I feel very strange about the sort of public reaction to this film being made, to be completely honest with you.
Yes,
I really do.
To be clear, everyone who doesn't know me, I gave this movie 15 of my dollars because I saw it in IMAX, or 14 of my dollars because I saw it in IMAX, because I hate gay people. I didn't actually want to see the movie. I just bought a ticket and then went to dinner. Yeah.
Look, there's a ton of people who love the book.
Yeah.
And it's a very popular book for a reason. I've never read it, but that's one of the reasons it's popular, is because I've never read it. And they're going to make a movie out of it, and they did their best. And, I mean, who cares? I mean, I know that sounds like callous and stupid and apathetic, but, like, who cares?
It doesn't sound any of those things. I want to say more, but it ties into my one big thing, so I'm going to save it for the minute.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Okay. That was your second movie. What else?
Nope, that was my third. Planet Hulk, The Shining, Ender's Game.
You're right, Andy. I want y'all to know, Andy and I talked on Sunday, and I said, Andy, I have seen 0 movies this week. I think we talked on Saturday or Sunday. I think we talked on Sunday.
We talked on Saturday. No, we talked on Sunday early, and you were like, I'm watching my second movie of the day, and that makes 2 for the week. That's
right.
Yes.
I had not seen any movies up till Sunday.
Indeed.
Andy, I saw 4 movies last week.
I was going to say, you're at 72, aren't you?
But I did watch 4 movies in one day.
Congratulations.
And
I love everything you're saying.
And it was everything I wanted it to be.
I hope so. That's fantastic.
It was, I started with a little movie while my daughter was napping. I watched a movie called Miracle.
The hockey?
The hockey movie.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, other than the hockey scenes, it was a really great movie.
Didn't like the hockey scenes?
Well, hockey's boring, and I didn't care about any of the scenes where they were actually playing hockey. I really didn't. Like, you think I'm joking, but I literally was like, the climactic scene, and I was like, this would be so much better if it was baseball, but that's fine. Like, or even football or any other sport. I just don't care. But the movie was really well Disneyed. I mean, well done. And Kurt Russell was fantastic in it.
It's true. That is true.
Anyways, Andy and I'm trying to get myself caught up with a bunch of sports movies for a reason that we will reveal at a later date. Now, my daughter woke up, and when she woke up, she looked at me and she said 2 very fateful words. She said, "Little Mermaid." And I said, sigh. And we watched The Little Mermaid again. And as you know, if I watch a movie from beginning to end, it counts. And it counts. My lord, it counts. I saw it again. I have seen The Little Mermaid a lot now. Then my daughter went to bed, and I watched a little movie which I've seen before, called Jarhead.
Ooh, okay.
The Jake Gyllenhaal, one of the Sarsgaards, or there's Sarsgaard and Skarsgård.
There's only one Sarsgaard. Well, I mean, there are many Sarsgaards. I'm sure he's not the only person in his family.
So which is the one that I saw, Sarsgaard or Skarsgård?
Sarsgaard.
Okay, so
Skarsgård is the professor
the guy from Thor. The guy from Thor.
And his son, who's the hot guy from. I mean, he's been in a ton of stuff. He's most well known probably for being like the secondary male lead in True Blood.
Okay, I believe.
You go.
So Sarsgaard. Anyways, yeah. Jarhead. Jarhead is a movie about Marines, snipers in the Gulf War, and it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. It's not a great movie. It's a good movie. I texted Andy while I was watching it and was like, I don't remember what I said, but I was just like, I bet Sam Mendes is not a nice guy. Yeah. There's something about a middle class, well, now he's a wealthy British guy who just keeps making movies and television shows about all the problems with American culture.
Sure.
Like, if this was made by a guy who grew up in America, it would feel totally different. But it's like, Okay, you're so incisive about somebody else's culture. Way to
Right.
go. Way to go,
Right.
buddy. Way to turn the mirror back. Oh no, right on someone else. Way to shine the mirror on someone else. That's right.
Way to just position a mirror and then walk away.
I am becoming a Jake Gyllenhaal fan as an actor.
Okay.
I think I am now squarely in the interested category, not yet in the have to see it no matter what category.
Sure.
But Andy, it's moving in that direction.
I applaud this. He was literally and I mean look Second Breakfast Nation. I am gonna guess I'm about to say something that many of you will disagree with, and spoiler, I don't care. I don't care.
Doesn't spoil it for me.
Hated Donnie Darko. Hated it.
Wow.
Hated.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
think I could be clear enough. I am like Melvin Udall with pills. Okay. Hate that movie.
Right.
Having said that, his performance in it is lovely. I
Yeah.
think he is great, and I have and that might be my least favorite performance of his. So
I don't.
yeah,
I didn't feel the way you felt. I didn't also feel the way a lot of people feel about it.
Sure.
That really like I saw it and I was like, okay, that happened.
sure.
And it did affect me. It had an effect, and I would see it again. But I didn't feel like I'm not going to be going around getting the tattoo of it on my arm and like dressing up as the bunny and like talking about it
Right.
and buying 7 different DVD versions of it.
wearing that stupid man suit? Oh, okay.
Anyways.
we
Okay.
get it. Go back.
We're done.
Go make School of Rock because that's a better movie. So
That is a better movie. Why did you bring that up?
because same director, Richard Linklater.
Oh, Richard Linklater did Donnie Darko?
Mhm.
I did not know that. And then finally, I got into bed and was not ready to fall asleep. And the end of Elizabeth came on, or I turned on the end of Elizabeth, the Kate Blanchett movie, where she's amazing. And then immediately after that, Elizabeth, the Golden Age came on.
Wow.
Andy, and so I watched I didn't watch all of Elizabeth because I watched whatever was left of it, and then I just immediately watched all of Elizabeth: The Golden Age, and it's not a very good movie. It's not a very good movie at all.
I haven't
but
seen
it's a fun movie, and it's her being her. I mean, let's just give Kate Blanchett as much space as she needs to do things. You put Kate Blanchett and Jeffrey Rush and Clive Owen in a movie, and Samantha Morton.
And how is it not a stand
Go
by.
ahead. What were you going to say?
Stand by.
Thank you for what you're about to do.
I made a mistake.
Yes, you did.
Yes. It's Richard Kelly. Having said that, Richard Kelly, go make School of Rock because it's a better movie.
What else has Richard Kelly made?
I don't think anything.
Okay.
The South. He made Southland Tales, which apparently was another. Well, the world's about to end, and it's weird and science fictiony, and also apparently terrible. And
there you go.
The Box, which was an apparently terrible movie based on one of my favorite science fiction short stories of all time. So
this guy makes bad movies for a living. It's what he does.
it's what he does. However,
He should hang out.
was-
He should hang out with Robert Rodriguez.
That's right. He has not made a movie since 2009, and I've seen several movies by Richard Linklater since 2009 that I've liked. So you're welcome, Richard Kelly. I elevated you in my esteem. I apologize about that, Second Breakfast Nation. And while I have you paused, Phil, and I apologize, and I'll let you go back in just a moment. The thing that I know, I think I saw Alexander Skarsgård in Battleship, but I
Okay.
also saw him in that movie about the eco-terrorism earlier this year, The East, and he was phenomenal in it.
Good.
He's like
I
the
don't.
leader
I
of-
don't have a problem with him.
Ooh,
I just don't know him.
sure, and I
And
guess it
Peter
doesn't even matter
Sarsgaard-
because
and Peter
it's
Sarsgaard
not,
just
right.
Peter Sarsgaard has this quality about him where he really,
Yes.
to me, can play anything.
Yeah,
Where he can be diabolical and evil, but he is so beautiful in Jarhead. His performance in Jarhead is he and Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, yeah. Look, for all I say about Sam Mendes, the man can direct.
It's
Let's
true.
just be clear.
it's true.
The man can spin a yarn and tell a tale, and he can work with actors.
Right.
Obviously,
Yes.
his work with actors is clear. So, anyways, those were my 4 movies. 4 movies in one day.
I'm very proud of you.
Oof. I feel like Al Bundy, four touchdowns in a single game. That's
Bullseye.
As I was watching the fourth movie, I was like, "Am I going to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." Then
I'm
I
so
did.
proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I love it.
All right. So, that's great, Andy. Can I do my one big thing?
Please do. One big
Andy.
thing.
So, one big thing. You know that movie, the movie version of Annie?
Which one?
The movie version. But
Okay.
come on, the movie version. The
Okay.
one we grew up with.
Right, sure. Carol Burnett.
Well, that's a messed up movie.
Agreed.
Okay. First of all, people always talk about Robert Altman directing Popeye. Do you know who directed Annie?
I don't think I do.
John Huston.
What?
People, this is one of the greatest film directors of all time. And I know that Robert Altman is the sort of like this sort of enfant terrible, as they say. I don't really think they say that, but he's this sort of like just troubled genius. Like does this thing. I would take John Huston over Robert Altman any day. I would watch John Huston movie. Put a John Huston movie in front of me. That being said, Annie is crazy messed up.
Yes.
I didn't get to watch all of it. I didn't have to watch all of it. I also think that that the source material ain't that great, to be completely honest.
Okay.
But okay, first of all, who just takes an orphan for a week? Okay?
That's
Then-
fair.
Who has he has a manservant named Punjab? Which is an Indian name, we agree, and
Yes.
is wearing an Indian
Yes.
garb.
Yes.
Okay, traditional Indian garb. Except it's played by a guy from Trinidad. Now I wonder if he might have been making the same mistake that Christopher Columbus was making with the West Indies.
I
but
love it.
but a large, and I mean large, black man and an Indian manservant, not the same thing. And it was literally like, and they just made him Punjab, and because he's just an exotic creature, basically.
Sure. I mean, Jeffrey Holder, the gentleman in question, he is sort of like pan-human. If for no other
Listen.
reason than his voice, which is one of the top, say, 10 voices I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, I agree. He made me drink 7-Up single-handedly.
Never had it. Never will.
But I feel like this must have been a time when there were like 3 colors in the white person's palette, and none of them were Indian colored. Like I really feel like that's true. Because they were like, wow, well, he's an Indian. Wow, what
It's
color
true.
is
And
that?
he's got these weird mystical powers, and it's
Yep.
so.
Yep. Yep.
But I can't. I literally can think nothing bad about anything that Jeffrey Holder is associated with.
Anyways, it's a mess.
Yes.
But it's glorious. In its own. Carol Burnett's performance is actually fantastic.
I agree.
Fantastic.
There's Tim Curry.
Oh, I know.
Bernadette
Tim
Peters.
Curry's accent in this movie, iffy. Just gonna let you know,
You're
iffy.
right. You're right.
Albert Finney, amazing.
Yes.
Anyways,
Anne
there's a
Reinking,
whole thing.
Edward
There's a
Herman
whole,
as
there's a whole
FDR.
subplot. There's a whole subplot where this guy tries to throw a bomb, tries to kill him because he's a Bolshevik, and the Bolsheviks don't like that he's successful and rich.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The politics of this movie, obviously, I love. I need to see it all again. But it's a mess. Wow, what a mess. And I'm thinking maybe just the source. But it made me realize when Broadway musicals that are popular don't do well in the movie versions, I think sometimes people are like, wow, that wasn't, what a problem with the movie.
Okay.
No, it's possible that the source material wasn't great. Like, I have a feeling if I saw Les Mis the play, I wouldn't care that much. I'm just guessing.
Okay. Okay.
But anyways, so that's my one big thing.
I'm going to offer something to you that I know you will never take me up on, and that I want you
Please.
to know that's okay.
It makes it so much easier for you to offer it to me.
That's right. Because I love not only what you said but how you said it. Like I can't point to a single performance and say that was bad,
Right.
but the movie doesn't work.
No. And I really think it's the source material. I really do.
All I will tell you is this: the TV movie remake with
Okay.
Victor Garber as Daddy Warbucks and I want to say Kathy Bates as Miss Hannigan.
Okay.
Is and Alan Cumming as I forget what his name is as the Tim Curry character.
Sure.
It's an equally star-studded cast. You got Kathy Bates, Victor
Yeah,
Garber, Kristen Chenoweth, Audra McDonald. And it works. And it works.
Okay.
Maybe because there's no Punjab.
Andy, challenge not accepted.
As much as I like
Challenge
Jeffrey
rejected.
Holder. As much as I like Jeffrey Holder.
All right.
Because
I love it.
He's wonderful. I mean Jeffrey Holder, like once a week on his answering machine, Morgan Freeman's like, teach me your voice.
It's true. And James Earl Jones. Hold on, I'm talking to James Earl Jones. I'll be back in a second.
That's right.
So,
no, totally. I love that. So that's your one big
Perfect.
thing?
Yeah.
So my turn. My one big thing.
Can't wait.
Adaptations.
Okay.
We will be talking...
Andy.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Say more.
Picture this.
There it is.
You don't have to. I don't have anything really to follow that up.
No. I had my mental picturing already.
No. That's your thing, man. I don't want to take your thing. It's your thing.
Okay. Not worried about it.
So, because you are the first person to ever say picture this. And that's how I'm going to tell it. To the police when they come to me and ask me about you and the phrase picture this. So, I see no way that'll go any differently than that.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's on fire.
Mm-hmm. So, adaptations, it's tough, right? I mean, today is Tuesday. Today the Hobbit comes out, the extended edition. I have read 2 reviews of it. One, oh my god, it's great. It works so much better than the theatrical edition. The other, this is a total mess.
Okay. Guess which one I believe.
I'm not sure. Look, I know which one you believe, but you know
that's
what
all
I
I
think?
meant.
You know what I think? I think it's entirely possible that it works a lot better. Every single one of the Lord of the Rings works better in the extended edition.
But you may be right. Well, you are right. But every single one of the theatrical editions was amazing by itself.
You're right on that score. Absolutely.
So, I would love for it to be better.
Yes. But that's just sort of a happy accident of fate and DVD releases. The reason it's in my head this week is because we will be talking about The Shining soon. We will be talking, please, Philip, about Ender's Game soon. Oh, yeah. We will be talking about...
Fine.
Yes. So these are so Ender's Game, The Shining. These are things that I'm looking forward to talking about, and then you have something like Lord of the Rings, or and you've got the new Hunger Games movie coming out soon, and although this isn't quite, it's certainly an adaptation, but it's not quite the same thing. This weekend, Thor comes out, and
there's so many questions to ask about an adaptation. Obviously, one of the first questions is, do you need to pay attention to the source material before you see the movie?
Right.
I think that's a big question for a lot of people. I still ask that question. I really was beating myself up about not reading the Hunger Games books before seeing the movie.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized that Jennifer Lawrence is not in the books. And the whole thing got so much easier for me. I just felt better.
And I'm glad that you felt better. I will say this. Why would you deny yourself good books?
It's not a matter of Andy, here's why.
Tell me, Phil.
Here's why.
Tell me.
This is a copy of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Here's a copy, look at this, of Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Here's a copy of The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Here's a copy of Here's a copy of Into the Wild by John Krakauer. I got a book by Dave Eggers here. I got Zora Neale Hurston. Their Eyes Were Watching God.
No, you do not. You are not about to read Their Eyes Were Watching God. No, I know you have it.
Why wouldn't I?
Because you don't like black people?
I'm flabbergasted by this. maybe, Andy, I won't even argue with you, even though it's what you just said is preposterous. I'll just say this: maybe I will once I've read this. Maybe I'll finally learn empathy for other races.
Yeah,
Probably
finally.
not. I was talking to someone recently who was talking about some movie that they saw, and they were like, and then I finally, like, it made me appreciate. Oh, they were talking about watching The Wire, and it was like,
Okay.
really made me like see black people as people, and I was like, I mean, good for The Wire, but how long did it take you?
Right.
Like, that's what did it? I mean, hey, listen, whatever it takes, like, whatever
Yes.
it takes for you to think that black people are people, do the thing that it takes to get you to that place. But really, it took you to The Wire?
Right.
Like, anyways, my point is this. All these books,
Yeah.
I haven't read yet. This right here is like 4,000 pages of good things that could happen to my brain and heart and soul and imagination.
Yes.
And I haven't let them yet. And what I'm saying, I haven't read The Great Gatsby yet. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And oh my gosh, Andy, East of Eden, John Steinbeck. I've almost read this book a dozen times, never read it.
I understand
so,
that.
my point is, I'm probably not going to get to The Hunger Games anytime soon.
Yeah, here's the deal. I would put The Hunger Games on par with, and this may mean nothing to you, or you may laugh at me, and that's fine. But I would put The Hunger Games on par with, like, the Harry Potter books. I think they are extraordinarily well written, and more to the point, because it's not like anything you just waved in front of me was not well written. Except for The Great Gatsby, that hack. I'm kidding,
Maybe.
folks. I'm kidding. The way I think that Phil actually doesn't like black people.
Thanks for fun. I waited that joke out for a while.
You did. Well done.
Thank you.
More to the point, every person that I have recommended The Hunger Games to was done with all three of the books inside of a week from
Yeah.
my recommendation.
Yeah.
Like-
No, my wife blew through them. Like,
Yes.
I was like, honey, are you gonna go to sleep? And she's like, after I've read all of these books.
So it's like, and she's like, why would I sleep when I could be doing this other thing? And look,
Okay.
I am a lover of literature. All of those books that you threw out there, I can see them doing the same thing to you.
But I know what you mean. I understand.
But
I understand.
But in terms of pure, like, addictive, this is
Yeah.
crack in literary form, The Hunger Games
Yep.
does not take a back seat to any of those books, is all
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay.
But I think, we've gotten off topic, which is weird for us. But only a little bit, because I think you're right. I think the first question is, do you have to know the source material? And I think the only honest answer should be, not is, but should be, no. Because
Okay.
you can't experience, and I'm not saying you don't. Look, clearly I went into Lord of the Rings ready to love them because I loved the books.
Yep.
Right?
Likewise. Yep.
But at the same time, and while it of course influenced it, at the same time, that's a double-edged sword. I didn't love, I think the Lord of the Rings are better than, the Lord of the Rings is a better book than The Hobbit, but I didn't go into The Hobbit with lower expectations.
Different
was-
expectations. Different expectations.
True. But so saying, you were predisposed to like it, well, you're just as likely to have your expectations dashed if you're thinking about it in those terms.
True.
So
That's true.
So adaptations have to work in and of themselves, and I look forward to speaking about this more when we talk about The Shining. As a movie, it is brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant.
Right.
As an adaptation, it's kind of terrible.
Okay.
It tells an amazing story, but in terms of what it is like, The Shining is to the Shining, the Kubrick film is to The Shining, the Stephen King novel.
I know what you're gonna say already.
I'm sure you do. Kind of like Dawn
Yep,
of the
say
Dead,
it.
the remake.
Oh.
is
Not what I thought you were going to say.
to the original. What'd you think I was going to say?
World War Z movie is World War Z book.
Oh no.
It's not that far of a departure from.
It's well,
It's
right,
got a lot of the
because- right,
same
because
elements.
The difference in the two World War Z's is also structural, whereas like it's not just plot, it's like structure of the plot and underlying everything. Whereas World War Z, obviously the underlying metaphor dies, but it's because of like content, if that makes any sense at all, and maybe
does.
it doesn't.
No, it does.
But the novel is functionally about alcoholism, and
Right.
Kubrick, for the vast majority of the movie, alcohol isn't like it's established early on that he is a recovering alcoholic,
Right.
but it's much more just about cabin fever and like supernaturally
Right.
charged cabin fever.
Right.
And that's a very different story. Whereas Dawn of the Dead, the original, is like, let us use the mall as a place almost of worship, as a place of an important place in this culture,
Right.
and let us talk about that in a subversive way. The new
Right.
one is, let's have a mall because it's a fun set piece, right?
Pretty much.
And looked at from a jaundiced point of view, Kubrick is like, let's put it in a creepy old hotel because I can tell an interesting story that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with a creepy old hotel. Right?
Right.
Like, let's put it in a hotel because the image of blood pouring down a hotel hallway will never leave the nightmares of anyone who sees it. Right?
It's true.
Whereas it's doing... I'm not going to say more stuff because it's not like Kubrick doesn't have a ton of layers. But it's just doing different stuff.
Right.
So that is poor mouthing the movie to say that it is akin to the Dawn of the Dead remake. But I
Right.
trust that Kubrick's Ghost.
Let
will
that be the
understand what I
first
mean.
and the last. Let that be the first and the last time that you compare Zack Snyder and Stanley Kubrick.
Phil, yes. So
Okay.
I just think it's interesting, and we'll talk about The Shining soon, and we'll definitely talk. We'll talk about The Shining, and I certainly hope we'll talk about that aspect of the film.
Sure.
with our guest that we're going to have. But I also hope we talk about Ender's Game soon because I have a lot of thoughts there and adaptations. Because they bring with them sort of built-in expectations. You also get into what we just experienced with Project Melway. Mel Gibson as human being and how that informs how we see his movies, and frankly, the Orson Scott Card thing, which we'll talk. If you don't know what we're talking about, stand by a couple weeks and we'll talk about it when we talk about
Sure.
Ender's Game. But like, it's the same sort of thing, right? Like, I
Right.
read the novel absent any expectations or preconceived notions about the author of the novel. He didn't make the movie, and I went into the movie with preconceived notions. Did they affect
Right.
me? Not really, but it could have,
Yeah.
So that's my one big thing. Adaptations. They're, crazy, man.
Crazy, like for sure.
Like I don't really have a point, but that's not unusual for us.
No, I'm glad you bring it up because I think how do you adapt things? I mean, I've read both the book Wise Guys, which is the book that became the movie Goodfellas, and I read Godfather, which became the movie that's called The Godfather. Actually, Godfather 1 and 2 are basically both based on the original novel. And it was interesting because those are two of the greatest movies of all time to see that the books are not two of the greatest books of all time. I think that's a whole other subject when it comes to adaptations, is understanding that movie and book are different media,
Yes.
different forms of art,
Yes.
and that actually what's good for one may be good for another, but not for the same reasons.
That's right. If I can jump in here real quick and just for the last time probably mention The Hunger Games. The reason that I would recommend you, in addition to everything else, the reason I would recommend you still reading the books is because they are first-person perspective, almost entirely interior monologue from Katniss's
Interesting.
perspective.
Okay.
And so, I mean,
So you're saying that it'll give me a lot of opportunities to imagine Jennifer Lawrence.
Phil, you got it in one. Got it in one.
Well then,
Yeah.
I'm By the time we finish this podcast, I will have finished all 3 books.
I love it. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's. But I'm sorry.
I dig
please
it. I
continue.
dig it.
I totally agree with you that different media require different things.
I have quoted this. I don't know if I've quoted it on this show before, but it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. It's an Elvis Costello quote. Elvis Costello was, and it's just off the cuff. He was talking at a concert of his about this song that he wrote, and someone was interviewing him and said, "What does this song mean?" And he said, "If I could have written it in words other than I put in the song, I would have written a different song."
Nice.
And it's like, how do we translate this to pictures? Well, you don't. That's why Stephen King wrote a book.
right.
And frankly, like, his best movies are not based on his greatest works, and the ones that are heavily adapted, are really thought. They took it somewhere. They did something about it. I mean, like, Misery is a great example. I mean, Misery is different than the book in a lot of ways. Where the book goes crazy, insane, and graphic, the movie's never graphic and just stays in your head in a very different way, and it works. But it's a different feeling because of it. And you just gotta, like, that's what I'm saying is, like, I would be a terrible adapter of books.
Yes,
Because I would literally just go through the book and be like, and then McMurphy says, like, I would just be like, straight through the book. It would be terrible.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this is why I'm not a screenwriter, one of many reasons.
That's well said. That's well said.
So, all right, so let's move on to our main topic for the day, something
Totes.
about which I am very excited.
Please say more.
Okay. Picture this. I'm a young lad of 34,
Ay.
sitting in an IMAX theater, thinking to myself, I hate 3D cinema. And then I hear the disembodied voice of one George Clooney, and everything is all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about a movie today called Gravity. And I have a couple of ideas about what we're going to talk about. Andy probably has a couple of ideas. I want to tell you right off the bat, we are going to talk about this movie as if we have actually seen it, because we have. And we are going to talk about it in a way wherein if you have not seen it, you might be bothered by some of the things we talk about.
One might even
Some people
say
call this spoilers.
spoiled. Indeed.
I don't know that this movie could be spoiled, but I do think that the less you know going in, the better. And if you haven't seen it, I will just say we're talking about it for a reason. There's much to talk about. To be honest, I doubt Andy and I will even scrape the surface of this movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And we're just going to start the conversation. I hope that in the future, if you listen to our show, see a movie we're talking about, and then come back and listen to it. Our goal is to create a conversation between each other, so it would be like you are walking up to two people talking about a movie, and then you could sit and talk with them. Because I imagine if you've seen the movie, you're going to yell at us while you're listening to us and go like, well, that's an idiot, stupid. What are they talking about? That doesn't work. But Gravity is immediately in my top 5 films of the year. It could be the one of all of them that I end up watching the most times.
Fascinating. Okay.
Although maybe not, because I want to live inside Short-Term 12.
Well said.
But other than that, it is a very special movie, and I'm looking forward to talking about it. So go see it, and then come back and listen to our conversation. Yes? Okay,
Yes.
so Andy, we are now assuming from here on out that if people are listening, they've seen the movie.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, talk to me.
I quite liked this movie.
Well, obviously you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah,
You wanted to talk about it. It's your idea.
It's just. Okay. Well, okay. Here's where I want to start, because I want to move past this point very quickly. I will not deny that when I finished watching it the first time, I was very slightly disappointed.
Interesting.
And I will tell you why. It has nothing to do with the movie. It has all to do with my expectations. People were basically like, this movie will melt your face off in ways that you like it is not like anything else you've ever seen. It's not even a movie. It's something else and blah blah blah. And I will say this. It isn't like anything else I've ever seen. But I've had the experience of sitting in a seat in a theater and watching a movie. And so I was like, I was not transported to Narnia, Oz, and Middle-earth at the same time, while also being in space with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. This was a terrible movie. I wasn't like that. But I was like, well, I mean, come on. You know? And then, like, I went to bed. And I woke up the next morning, I was like, hang on.
I need to see that again.
Exactly. and it's just a phenomenally well-made movie. It is. So there are plenty of technically adept. So here's where I actually want to begin. Plenty of technically adept directors out there, right? Who can frame a shot.
Yep.
But Alfonso Cuarón, more than anyone else that I can think of working today in terms of having it as his calling card, does stuff with framing of long takes that is not just showing off. Every single thing that he does with his camera has a point. And I mean, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world where that was true for every shot by every director? But his calling card is the long shot. You know, I mean,
I feel like you see, and this movie felt like one long shot. Even if it wasn't, it felt like it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, it's not just the long shot, and you can tell, like, when you look at Children of Men, there's the birth scene and what comes after that. Right. And that's like one long sequence, but the entire movie builds to it.
Yes.
And so it earns it.
Yes.
And this movie, it's like the whole movie exists as one stream of consciousness event.
Yes.
And that takes, well, guts, but it takes skill that I think is really, I mean, it does. It takes skill, and I think you're right. It doesn't. It's like everybody made a big deal about the one single shot of going inside the Tropicana it's the Tropicana, I think, in Goodfellas.
Yes.
Is that the name of the place? They should have. It was amazing. But the thing is, you knew. I think there's no way when Scorsese was doing it, he was thinking everyone's going to be talking about this for years. He was just obsessed with the idea that this is the only way to tell this story. And so he did this thing where it took him 4 days to set up this streaming shot, and it was amazing and awesome.
Right.
And then after the fact, we're like, we need to talk about that.
Right.
That's how I feel about Cuarón.
Yes.
He does these things because it's necessary to tell the story.
Yes.
This is the only way he can fathom to get this across. And then we all have to talk about it. I for one I think I had the best case scenario. I went in with unreasonably low expectations.
Nice.
Because when I first saw Children of Men, I was like, okay. I didn't think it was brilliant.
Sure.
And I've seen it again, and I definitely do think it's brilliant now. But it actually took me not seeing it and it just sitting in my brain and me talking about it without thinking much about it. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, it turns out I thought that movie was brilliant. Which is a very interesting way to think of a movie. But so people, and I haven't seen a lot of his other movies. I've seen Prisoner of Azkaban, but I haven't seen Y Tu Mama Tambien, or I think he did Amores Perros. Was that him? Did I make that up?
I think you made that up.
Anyways.
I don't know.
Anyways, I haven't seen a lot of his stuff.
Yep.
And so he has been anointed. He got anointed. You know what I mean?
True.
Like
I do.
He's been anointed as the one, the savior of all. And so I think I was just prepared to. I'm just I'm a I'm a contrarian.
No, you're not.
He didn't make Amores Perros. I apologize.
He did.
He made, but he did things like Great Expectations, which was not great.
Right, but he also
And
did
A Little Princess.
A Little Princess, which is wonderful.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
It's really he. Let me put it this way: everything that he's done, he got because of the not everything, but like Harry Potter opened a lot of doors for him, right? I mean, I think we can agree on that. And he got Harry Potter because of A Little Princess. You know, like
got it. Okay.
You know,
okay.
So you know.
So this movie is, I believe he wrote it with his son, Gravity.
Fascinating. I didn't know that. Okay.
Which is like, you think about M. Night Shyamalan writing things for his children, or Robert Rodriguez writing things giving his children writing credits on one of the movies he made, or creating the characters of the story he made. Right. And then you think of this, and you're like, oh, this is how it actually works.
When it works right, this is how it works.
Right. When it works right, it's Francis Ford Coppola casting Nick Cage, not Francis Ford Coppola casting Sofia Coppola. Right. Slightly different.
Un petit peu.
Un petit peu. All right. Tell me what else you want to say about this movie before I launch on my diatribe.
I want to say one thing about the only complaints that I have seen are like scientific complaints, like, oh, that's not what actually happened. So
stop.
Here's the deal. Here are the two things that bothered me, that legitimately bothered me. One, and this I suppose is the first true spoiler. So seriously, if you didn't heed our warning earlier, I'm about to ruin a moment in the movie for you. Flat out ruin it. Okay.
Okay.
Here's how much. Ready? The moment that George Clooney dies. Okay?
Right.
Or not the moment he dies, but the moment he lets go.
Right.
Right? Flat out, that is not how physics works. It's just not. Like, it just isn't how physics works. None of that moment would work. Okay, that way.
Huh.
The other, it doesn't bother me that like it actually doesn't bother me that every time she runs across another like way station, the like or that all the way stations are like close enough that she can just like get to them, right?
Right.
What does bother me is this: if she can get to them and every time she gets to a new one, she's attacked by the debris shower. Why weren't they destroyed the last time they're around the Earth? Why doesn't the debris storm ruin things before she gets to them if she's getting to them later? If that makes sense. Having said that, those are the two things that bother me. They do not bother me. They don't bother me in terms of ruining the movie because both of them make sense dramatically. And I have said this in a previous podcast, I will say it again. Probably the smartest man alive is Phil.
Thank you.
Probably the second smartest man alive is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yep.
Who knows everything about everything. And he tweeted a series of, this movie got it wrong here, this movie got it wrong here, this movie got it wrong here. But his last tweet about Gravity was, which, by the way, I don't think he was doing in the movie, because he's also an awesome guy, and tweeting during a movie would make him not an awesome guy.
Right.
His last tweet was, but just to be clear, I loved this movie. And that's how I feel about Gravity in terms of, like, scientific accuracy.
Right.
That's it. I'm spent.
I don't believe in science because I'm religious, so it's really not an issue for me. I'm surprised we didn't see space monsters and angels up there. So I don't know. And Leviathan and all sorts of things. I don't know.
I would have. I was too busy looking at the edge of the map where the world is.
When you break through the firmament of the sky, you're supposed to get to water. So I don't quite understand what that whole space thing is. This just proves to me, of course, that we never landed on the moon. That's not a thing that can happen.
Well, if O.J. Simpson's filmography has taught us anything, that was already a given, right?
It's true. It's
Capricorn
true.
1. Have you seen that movie?
No. What are you talking about?
Don't.
Okay, no worries. No worries. I mean, you had me at O.J. Simpson, and by had me, I mean lost me. Okay, here's the deal. A couple things about that.
Dude.
All kidding aside about science. It's not that I don't care about science. I don't care about science, but it's not that I don't actively hate science.
Good.
It's just I don't care about. When I say I don't care, I mean like it's not a field of the world that holds a lot of interest for me.
Sure.
But not like it'll hold a lot of interest for me when I need chemotherapy. Let's put it that way. Like I'll care. Like I cared about when my dad was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. I then immediately learned everything about multiple myeloma and was very grateful for all of the different things that treated it.
Yeah,
so I'm
right.
not in any way. I don't want anyone to think that even on a joking level I'm anti-science. It's not really who I am. But it's an area in which I'm fairly illiterate. I've always been bad at understanding it.
Sure.
And so I have much respect. But it's never been like so. I guess what I'm saying is I was joyfully unfettered by knowledge when it came
There
to
we go.
watching this. And all I could do was it was the story itself. And I said this, but I am unfortunately saddled with a lot of information that is biblical. And I will say that I said this when we talked about this in the mailbag, but I'll say it again. When you read Genesis 1 and then Genesis 2, which present two separate stories of creation that have conflicting details, that are phenomenal stories, they tell two very different stories, neither of which is scientifically accurate.
Okay. Right. Sure.
In the sense that the Earth isn't 6,000 years old, it's older, and in the sense that it probably wasn't created over a 7-day period in the way that is described in the first creation story, or in one day as it is described in the second creation story. But neither of those things, but the fact that it's not scientifically accurate doesn't matter, because what the stories are doing are telling us something that is absolutely true about who God is and about who we are. And that's what makes the story special and timeless and perfect. They are not trying to be historically accurate. They are trying to be explanatory, illustrative of who God is and who we are. That's their reason for being, and they do a perfect job of it. Gravity is not trying to teach us about science. Gravity is a myth, and it is a myth probably about the resurrection, frankly. This is whether or not Alfonso Cuarón is a Christian, he is using deep Christian symbolism, and he is essentially telling a grand myth. And science isn't the point. He's using images that we understand and concepts. We understand that there is no gravity. I mean, he says it at the beginning, the very beginning. In space, there's no gravity, there's no air pressure, there's no sound, life is impossible. Start a movie. That's the point. That's the setup. Nothing else is the setup. The setup is, I have created a place in which life is impossible. The only thing that space represents really in this situation is death.
Yes.
And the movie is actually an affirmation of life, or a passing through death into life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
If you can't get your head around that, go watch a documentary. I'll be in the movie theater watching Ender's Game and Gravity. You can go watch something on Nova. We'll both be happy.
Right, that's
we'll
right.
We'll both be better people for it.
Sure.
It's fun.
Yes.
As I said before, and you even disagree with me on this point because you're so laser focused on the narrative, which I appreciate. I think the science is such an important part of the narrative in Apollo 13 that for them to be scientifically accurate, even if I don't get the science, matters to me. It matters because it's such a huge to me because it's such a huge part of the narrative. Because the point seems to be that these people used good old American know-how and scientific ingenuity to accomplish this task.
Right.
And so the idea that they be faithful to reality matters to me.
Can I speak to that
Alfonso,
real quick?
Can I finish my sentence and then you can?
Yes, absolutely.
Alfonso Cuarón doesn't need to be faithful to reality because he's too busy being faithful to the truth. That's all I wanted to say.
That's beautifully said, and that's frankly my response to the first part of what you said, which is like, I'm not gonna. They could take me. Nova. Let me put it that way. Nova could take me through the process that they used to get Apollo 13 back, right? I wouldn't understand it.
Right.
What I saw was the truth of, as you put it, good old American know-how and ingenuity.
I have
them
issues.
Back down.
I have issues. You are probably right, and I am probably wrong. I mean, it's very possible I am in the wrong camp on this. I am capable of standing up in front of people and saying very beautiful things about God and using the Bible to do it. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to, I could just say, well, what Jesus really meant was this, even if I didn't actually think he meant that.
Right.
If it got me to the place that I wanted to get to, and there's a bunch of people who wouldn't know better.
Right.
But I shouldn't do that.
Right. I agree with that. I agree with that statement.
And I have a hard time when movies say true story. I'm like, then just be a true story. Like,
No.
but this is, again, I am willing to say I'm probably wrong. I don't want to be lied to. I'm still like a child. Don't lie to me. It's not fair. I want to stay up past my bedtime. Like, that's still, I want to stay up past my bedtime. Mm-hmm. I don't like when things aren't fair, and I don't like being lied to. I haven't aged.
Brother,
I have as much hair now on my head as I did when I was born.
I get it. I do. I really do.
Okay, but that's all I want to say about that. Can I say a little bit more about this resurrection thing?
Please do.
Okay, this blows my mind mainly because Children of Men is a story about Christmas. Children of Men is a story about the virgin birth. Now, she makes a joke about being a virgin, and of course she isn't in the movie.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, because it's still the story of the incarnation of Jesus.
Right.
In the Christian myth, in our narrative, our story, in the Christian story, and when you hear me, if you're a Christian and you hear me say myth, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying on a symbolic level. That's all I'm talking about. Don't get nervous.
Big M.
Phil believes in Jesus. Okay. In the Christian narrative, the birth of Jesus represents a rebirth and a new life and new possibility of salvation, literal saving, for the entire world. This birth represents redemption, possibility, hope, rescuing, saving for the world. That is exactly what Children of Men is about.
Yes.
It is about a people who have lost hope and whose very bodies have given up. They don't even make people anymore. They just friggin' stopped.
Yeah.
And so this birth means hope. It means a new creation, a new world, a new chance. And it is about what kind of people hope for that and what kind of people don't. And what kind of people have lost hope and what kind of people, how people encounter that. And for that reason, this is a Christmas movie, period. In fact, I think I'm going to watch it on Christmas Eve this year. That's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
Because really, Clive Owen and Julianne Moore, why wouldn't you? Really.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Now, that's fine, all well and good, but this movie, if that movie was made by one person and this movie was made by another person, I might suspect there was some biblical symbolism. Nope. Made by the same person, it is official. This woman dies. Now, even though she doesn't die, she is in the midst of death.
Yes.
And in the midst of death, she chooses life. She literally interacts with the dead in her interaction with George Clooney, which is, to me, that moment is her actual death.
Yeah.
Her actual death is the moment when she says, I'm going to die. And then she literally has a conversation with a dead person. And then, in her death, she chooses life. And then the thing that sealed it for me is, and they did not have to do this, they chose to do this, the way that she emerges into life is through water. Now, if you're a church person and you need some symbolism, I got your baptism right here.
It's fair. It's a fair point.
The thing we need to understand about Christian baptism, as opposed to Jewish baptism, And by that I mean, in Jesus' time, there were many ritualistic purifications that were called baptisms.
Sure.
So baptism was not what it is today. And this baptism was treated as differently. And from the very beginning of Christian understanding, they would say, we are baptized into the death of Christ. In other words, when you are baptized, you die. And we participate in his death so that we may participate in his eternal life. That's the symbolism.
Got it. Okay.
So baptism isn't just a cleansing or a purification. It's death. It is giving yourself over to water, which can be a symbol for life, but also a symbol of chaos. Okay, again, you look at Genesis. Before the earth is created, it says that there is all void, and it's this Hebrew. In Hebrew it says tohu vavohu, which literally means like stuff and things. Like there's no real translation for it. It just sounds really cool. Tohu vavohu, and the way that it's translated is generally translated as an empty void, or one Hebrew scholar translated, you'll love this, as welter and waste. The earth was nothing but welter and waste.
Awesome.
It's chaos. It's chaos. All great creation stories come out of chaos.
Right.
And in this sense, the chaos, and it says the Spirit of God is hovering over the waters. Waters are chaotic. Waters are where the sea monsters are. When you send something off into the ocean, it never freaking comes back. That is where death is. You have still, simple water, and then you have rushing, terrible water, where you drown. This is the thing. And when God creates, God holds back the waters, the rushing waters, the chaos. Well, there's two things that he's holding back. He creates the ground on the bottom, and he creates the sky up above, which holds back the waters. But we know there's not waters up there now, but it's chaos up there. Well, what is the symbol of that in this movie? Space. And he says it. Life can't exist there. It is death. And the way she gets through death is through the water. Essentially, eventually. I mean, she makes the decision, and then when she gets through the water, she does that step. It's like the final shot is her stepping up as a person. And she even like steps up in a way that she like falls over, like she's learning to walk. She's new again.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy, holy crap. It as a Christian, this movie was so much fun for me. And I walked out of that movie, and I went with the second time I took my youth group to see it. I was like, I don't care how you all have to see this movie. and I was like, that movie was about the resurrection. And this kid was like, no, that movie was about a girl lost in space. And I was like, no, you're wrong. And I wasn't a good enough teacher because I didn't spend enough time explaining to him how. That's my fault. But I'll know he'll never forget that he had a crazy priest that was like, that movie was about the resurrection. And then he'll be an adult and he'll watch it. So when I say resurrection, I don't mean like literally Jesus' death and resurrection. I mean more so the symbol of how we as people participate in this resurrection. And that's pretty awesome for me. Now, again, what I love, though, you, not being Christian...
Wait.
It's true.
Am I not?
I mean, listen, if you want to be glad to have you.
Phil, I'd be the luckiest man in the world if that did it for me. But...
You would be.
But I you know what? I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
Right. Keep me posted.
Right.
I don't charge for baptisms. They're free. But the deal is, Andy's not Christian. He's a Jew, folks. And
That's true.
And you can watch this movie and completely and utterly love it and appreciate it on one level, and I can watch it and for a completely different reason love it and appreciate it. And I got to tell you, that makes a movie amazing to me.
It's true. That's right.
That makes a movie special. The fact that everything I just said, you're like, okay, that's possible that that's what he was doing. And even if it's probable that that's what he's doing, the fact that you hadn't necessarily thought of that doesn't affect your enjoyment or appreciation of the movie.
That's right. That's
you
right.
Have
I have zero difficulty. And it's for the same reason. It's for the same reason that you said, because it's the same dude that made Children of Men. I have zero problem believing that he absolutely made it with those things in mind. No problem whatsoever. Doesn't matter. If you want to go into this movie, you're like, I want to watch Hollywood stars fight against space.
And can we talk about that? And can we talk about that for a second?
Please.
Sandy Bullock is phenomenal in this movie.
She is so good, so good. I am
Yep.
angry. I am angry that this movie happened in the same year as Blue Jasmine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to. I'll go biblical on you. I want to split the baby. All right. I want to cut the Oscar
Nice.
statuette in
Nice.
half. All right.
I liked it.
Because
Whichever one of them says no, don't do it, give it to the other person. That's the person that deserves the Oscar.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
No, I still haven't seen. I need to see Blue Jasmine for show, but
Yep.
I don't doubt you because Kate Blanchett is. I mean, she's to me the greatest living actress, so that's fine.
Sure.
But
at
Sandra
least-
Bullock is. I mean, I thought her performance in The Heat was great, and I thought she was great in this. And I mean, obviously they're two very different movies, but she's phenomenal. George Clooney he's Clooney,
Yeah. Yes.
but he manages to be Clooney in a way that's just. I mean, he's so perfectly. If you know what he does,
Tell me what he
he
does.
makes you believe that he is a character that could make you feel safe and secure in the midst of space, lost
Yes.
without a tether.
Yes.
When he finds her, I literally was like, well, then everything will be okay.
Everything's going to be fine. Yes.
And in fact, when he dies, when he disappears,
Yeah.
I literally was like, up until this point, I thought she was going to make it.
Yes. Yes.
That was the power of his character. And actually, but if you think about it, all the more reason to get rid of him. From a narrative standpoint,
Oh, yes.
but also from a symbolic standpoint.
Yes.
If you want to understand all hope is lost,
Then
all hope has to be lost.
Then the embodiment of hope needs to get lost.
Yep.
Yeah, and what's amazing, I'm gonna draw another parallel between Blue Jasmine and Gravity, because the cast and the direction in both movies is perfect. It is perfect. This is the best movie Woody Allen has made since, I mean, minimum 15, 20 years. It is amazing and something that he has always been good at.
Is it better than Sweet and Lowdown?
I have not seen it. I have not seen it. I need to. So I don't know. All right?
Okay.
It is better than all of the other movies that people point to as, well, Woody Allen is back now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but I believe you already.
Yeah.
Just because he wasn't in those movies.
Right. I thought he was back with Match Point, and then I saw Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Right. I'm like, oh, nope.
Oh, it's the same movie, only better and even more
Crimes
dark
and Misdemeanors is so
twisted.
amazing.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
They've been showing Match Point on cable a lot lately, and I'm just like, stop it.
Right?
I mean, I just don't watch it, but
I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just so disappointing when you put it up against any of his classics,
I
including
hate
Crimes and
it.
Misdemeanors.
I hate it with flames, white hot burning flames.
I can't tell you you're wrong. I certainly
Okay,
can't.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, back to Gravity. Back to something we love.
Right. So Blue Jasmine. The other thing about it, and this is something that both Woody Allen and Alfonso Cuarón have no problem doing, picking amazing casts that fit their characters like gloves. Kate Blanchett, Bobby Cannavale, Sally Hawkins, Andrew Dice Clay, your boy Peter Sarsgaard.
I know.
These
Louis C.K.'s in it.
Louis C.K. as someone who is amazing.
Love it.
Amazing. I cannot. Every single character in this movie, I cannot imagine being played by anyone else. I cannot imagine anyone playing the embodiment of cool under pressure and when you are with me, you are safe.
Yep.
Than George Clooney.
Yep.
And all of the stuff that Sandra Bullock, and I agree with you. I agree with your implication when you say that Kate Blanchett is the greatest living actress, that Sandra Bullock is therefore not. Sandra Bullock is medium to me. I mean, I've certainly seen her and loved her. I've seen her and thought she was right? She isn't someone who I have an opinion about one way or another strongly about her quote-unquote talent, okay?
Yep.
I cannot imagine anyone else in Hollywood playing this part, period.
She's perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
I'm so proud of her. And I want to go, I'm gonna go ahead, by the way, and buttress your point.
Ooh, I love a good buttressing.
Add to and support. Hold up. Not only did they pick exactly the right person, I just looked this up, and I thought so when I saw the movie, but I never bothered to check, and now I've checked.
Okay.
Not only did they get Sandy Bullock, not only did they get George Clooney and make them both amazing, but you know who played the voice of Houston, Mission Control, in Gravity?
I do.
Ed Harris, who did it in Apollo 13.
Yes. Yes.
That's a brilliant move.
That is a brilliant move.
Because the last space movie anyone ever saw was Apollo 13, and everyone remembers Ed Harris from that movie.
Yes. But it doesn't... you know what? I'm glad you said that, because that, to me, strikes me the same as, like, Cuarón's long takes. It could feel gimmicky, and it just doesn't.
Because they never make a thing of it.
Right.
It's just his voice, which it should be, because Ed Harris's voice should be in everything.
That's right. That's right.
So...
I want Ed Harris to be my ringtone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
Phil,
phone
pick
is
up your
ringing.
phone. Andy,
Your
pick
phone
it
is
up.
ringing.
Andy, Phil's calling. Pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up. Have you seen the clips? There's behind the scenes clips of him in the movie The Rock between takes.
No, I haven't.
Apparently he's really intense. Like really. No, I know.
Focus,
no, I know you're not wearing
folks
your
listening
surprise
to
face.
us. Folks listening to us.
Andy
instead
is
of
not
watching
wearing
us,
his surprise face.
I'm totally wearing my shocked and surprised face right now.
But nevertheless, never ye less. Still just the same. It's you know that people are intense, but actually watching them be intense at a time when you're probably not supposed to be watching, it feels very uncomfortable.
Yes, it feels intimate.
And I actually
in a way
watched it, and then I ended up just stopped watching it because I was like, this isn't my business. Like, it's none of my business how he acts. It's not my problem.
Right.
Like,
that's right.
Let them deal with him. I love what he does.
Agreed. I love everything you're saying right now. Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah.
Unless it's David O. Russell, that guy.
Oh, I can't say what I think about that guy because we're a family podcast. Well, this I could say. He makes great movies. I mean, he does.
He makes great movies.
He does. I almost wish he didn't make movies that were that good. Because he's so many things I can't say on a family podcast.
Maybe he's changed. Maybe. Maybe.
Anything's possible. People grow up. Not usually at his age, but it's possible.
Miracles. Always, all around you.
Can come true. They can happen to you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, Jimmy. No, it's okay. Inka dinka do. All right, so I'm all set talking about Gravity for now.
Sure.
It really is special to me. I will use it. I will show it. I will talk about it. I would love to do it in a movie series. Oh. I am on record as saying I hate 3D.
Oh, yes. Please talk to me. About this.
I was glad to have seen this movie in 3D both times. Once in IMAX and once in 3D reg.
Okay.
On the regular.
Original flavor. OG.
And it didn't bother me one bit. In fact, I get completely why it was great.
Good.
And I've recommended it to other people to see it 3D IMAX.
Sure. The only yeah, I've thought about this because you have told me that you loved it and I knew your history with I mean, why do you think that is? Do you think it because the dominant color in this movie is black?
Maybe. I don't know. It's just done
so
right.
it doesn't it like something about that.
3D bothers my eyes. This never bothered my eyes.
Right.
3D feels gimmicky. This didn't feel gimmicky.
Right.
I don't know. I will also say I haven't seen it in 2D, and I bet I would love it in 2D.
I mean, that's fair. I'm a little nervous. I'm going to need you to buy this movie before I buy it because I'm a little nervous because I have only seen it in IMAX 3D, and while I have a large television, it's not going to be the same.
Well, Andy, will do.
Sounds good. So
I think it'll work fine because it's really centered on. It's really primarily not about the effects, even though the effects are great.
Yes,
it is about. It is about Sandra Bullock.
No, you're
who,
right.
by the way, does all of this almost entirely without you seeing her face.
That's
or
right.
you see it, but I mean, it's like through the mask and all this stuff.
Yes.
It's just
yes.
What a piece of storytelling.
Everything. Storytelling, acting.
And finally, folks,
Please.
the movie with credits is only 91 minutes.
Yeah.
To which I say, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hollywood, it's possible. It's possible.
It's possible to tell engaging, exciting, original stories that don't scream for a sequel. Be technically beyond proficient and innovative and amazing.
Yep.
In Peter Jackson. Less than 3 hours.
Wow. Full 3.5. 12 hours. He can't do it in under 12 hours, Peter Jackson. He has to tell a 3-story movie that's 4 hours long each. Okay, enough of that. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I love you, Gravity.
Oh,
I love
Gravity.
you, Alfonso Cuarón. I love you, Sandra Bullock. I love you, George Clooney. I love you, Ed Harris.
Yeah. Gravity. Call me.
Gravity, call Andy. He's a handsome chap.
Indeed. Folks, are we done? I think we're done. Are we done, Phil?
We're done for now.
Well, Sure. For now. Until later this week when we come at you again. Folks, that'll bring us to the end of our podcast. This has been another Second Breakfast. I am Andy Roth, and that is Phil Duvall, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The most important meal of the day. Second